Okay, so before we speak to chartists and also futures and options expert, I just want to lay out what's going on. Essentially, financial services stocks are exceedingly strong, especially public sector banks, at least in the trade we saw yesterday. Then you have a whole new group of stocks really starting to rise, especially in chemicals. And many of them have beautiful trends. And so I'll start that in just a moment after. Is Chandan with us? Yeah, so first I just wanted to take his view on the technicals. Can we just bring up a Nifty chart and a Bank Nifty chart first? And then I'll go to Chandan. We just want to take a look at, just yesterday's would be fine, Smita. We'll just take a look at what kind of move we've had in these two charts. So here's Nifty for you, but you know, as I was saying, that you really now have to look for it to break away from 89.40 if you're looking for a clear chart, and stay there and move on. And we'll just put up the Bank Nifty, and you'll see an equally strong chart in Bank Nifty because of ICICI, because ICICI finally is trying to break out of a channel. So it's an interesting phenomenon. We'll see that. Chandan, good morning. First of all, we had a pretty significant rally in all kinds of public sector stocks, but what is relevant to Bank Nifty is ICICI, and ICICI is finally starting to break away from that channel. And you know, I mean, if it will do it definitely or not, we'll have to see it for the next 2 or 3 trading sessions. In that scenario, what do you see, Chandan, happening to ICICI, and what do you see happening to the Bank Nifty itself?
Very good morning, sir. Talking about the Nifty and Bank Nifty stocks, recently the market has bottomed out and has been moving upwards from last 4 to 5 trading sessions by making high rise, high lows. Especially talking about the Bank Nifty, again, it started to outperform the broader market. ICICI has taken the lead. It has rallied well from 240 to 277 and now all set to give the fresh breakout. Earlier, the stock witnessed hurdle near to 278 to 280 zone because of the call writing, and now post the expiry, if 278 280 zone is decisively hold, then the stock may start the fresh leg of rally, which will probably take it to 305 to 310 levels on the higher side. We are looking for a channel breakout and the consolidation breakout, the counter with the rising volume that clearly indicates that bulls are taking participation in the counter, and the fresh put writing at the lower strike also giving the comfort to the stock to move on higher side. So till it holds above 265 267 zone, we are turning positive on the counter. Holding about 278 280 might start the fresh leg of rally. So those who are looking for the private banks can definitely go with ICICI Bank, and Axis and Yes Banks would be the other idea, but ICICI is likely to participate even after the rally of around 10 to 12% from recent lows. Now talking about the Bank Nifty, Bank Nifty witnessed a correction of around 1,000 to 1,200 points from the recent high of around 20,500 levels, but it has managed to hold near to 19,000, 18,888 kind of zone, and now it is at the verge of breakout from this falling channel. The Bank Nifty and Nifty both were moving in a falling channel from last 7 weeks, and now if follow-up happens and Bank Nifty sustains about 19,750 to 800, then this breakout may lead the Bank Nifty to head towards the new high territory of 20,500 and 20,900. So market is getting an early sign to get the cheer ahead of the festival season, and if the follow buying happens, then I think the fresh leg rally cannot be ruled out in the banking counter as well as in the broader market.
Right. I'll go back to Chandan on another interesting scenario in just a moment. The fact that you know, our markets are finally breaking away from the trends in global markets is a very interesting phenomenon, and that's when you start to get an asset class rally, which is basically your markets start to move up much higher than everything else. But let's take a couple of stocks first. Morning, Mohit. Yeah, so Mohit is just checking his chart, so I'll come back to Mohit in just a moment. Richard, good morning. Thanks for joining us. We've seen a significant rally coming in some of these chemical stocks, and I just wanted to mention a couple: Sri Pushkar Chemicals, Balaji Amines. Can we also put up the charts, Smita, just one-day chart and also a one-year chart? Also Giant Agro, Sri Realsima Hypo. Just your thoughts on these, Richard, because not just that we have had a rally yesterday, but if you look at a one-year chart, these are very strong rally stocks.
Good morning, Ashok. Ashok, probably these most of these chemical stocks which we have just named, Sri Pushkar, Balaji Amines, and even Thirumalai Chemicals. Most of these stocks have been forming this high top high bottom structure since last 7-8 months or more than a year. And in fact, one should concentrate more on volumes along with this up move, which have been increasing even at current levels. So that's a quite positive sign that even after a significant rise, if we compare it to where the stocks were about a year earlier, and even at current levels when the stock is moving higher, it is attracting much higher volumes than what they were about 6 months ago. So I think this is purely an indication that this is one of a uptrend which is going to last for a pretty long period of time. And even from current levels, every corrective decline which we have seen was with lower volumes, and on area and on every up move the volumes are much higher. So I think this uptrend could continue in these stocks. Specifically, Sri Pushkar Chemicals has potential again to go up to 185 and even cross those recent highs. So keeping a stop loss below 150, definitely one can look to go long in Sri Pushkar. Balaji Amines, even this stock has been forming this high bottom, high top, high bottom structure. Very difficult to come out with a target since the stock is hitting its all-time high levels, and there has not been any significant correction in the recent times. Volumes are quite a bit lower, but on the up moves in yesterday's trading session were good compared to its earlier volumes. So I think this upside momentum, which has been backed by good volumes, is likely to continue in both the stocks, Sri Pushkar Chemicals as well as Balaji Amines.
Right. We're going to take a short commercial break, but when we come back, I wanted to show you some really excellent charts, but we'll separate it from day trading and also from a longer term trading perspective in just a moment. And Mohit, of course, and Chandan and Ruchit will have their own stocks today. We'll talk about those also. You're watching Dealing Room, and as we were discussing, well, let's take a couple more stocks. Let's put up this Pneumatic Holdings, PNEUMATIC, Omax Auto, and Sundaram Clayton. So even in auto ancillaries, you have some pretty strong rallies. If you have any of those, we can, Omax Auto and Sundaram Clayton if you have that. And I want to take Syngene International, because this is really a biocon kind of company, and you can see how clean the charts are. Sundaram Clayton, beautiful chart. Can we just bring up Omax Auto and Syngene International, and clean charts even here. Again, beautiful chart as you can see. And Syngene is SYNGENE. Okay, all right. So here, so again, a nice smooth chart for the last 6 months. DCM is another one which is looking very good. DCM Limited. We'll also take a look at Salora International. Not the greatest chart, but again, so so here's the uptick for you. And then we'll look at some of the banks. Can we bring up Syndicate Bank, Dena Bank, Union Bank, OBC, Corporation Bank? So they've been stuck in a channel, but that channel may be breaking. So we'll go through all of them in just a moment. Mohit, if you have a thought on Omax Auto, Pneumatic Holdings, Sundaram Clayton, Syngene, Jayant Agro.
Sure. So we start off with Sundaram Clayton. It's looking good in the charts, seen a good up move for the last couple of sessions. This can head higher towards levels of 3,400, so you could buy it with a stop loss at 3,200. As far as Syngene goes, yes, it's in a strong uptrend and seen a nice up move in trade yesterday. On the back of results today, perhaps we will see some sideways movement, but the trend is still strong, and this can head higher towards levels of 555 to 560 next. It's a buy with a stop loss at levels of 535. Even DCM is looking good in the charts and seen a good up move in trade. This is holding out strongly though. We've seen already a big up move. And this can head higher towards levels of 140 next. It's a buy with a stop loss at levels of 130. Omax Auto also looking good in the charts. This has seen a good up move yesterday. And this can head higher towards levels of 105 to 107. It's a buy with a stop loss at levels of 96.
Chandan, of course, whatever your picks are today, please feel free to discuss them. And also, I wanted to ask you that after a long time, we are starting to see the Indian markets have their own momentum. They're not just following blindly what's happening in Asia, what's happening in Europe. Usually, that's a great sign for a bull market when it starts to take its own direction rather than opens or closes based on some other market. That and also whatever your picks are for today.
Yes, I do agree with that comment, and we are started to outperform the broader market. And I think if this phase of outperformance happens, then we may start the post and we may start the fresh leg of rally post the Diwali. Overall, we are hovering near to its lifetime high territory, whether the Nifty or the Bank Nifty. These are just 3 to 4% away from its lifetime high territory, and if that conquered, then I think the next leg of rally might give the positive sign to entire the traders and the investor across the globe. So I think this outperformance may continue. The Nifty has recently made bottom near to 8500. Now it has surpassed the immediate hurdle of 8778, 8800 zone, and above that we may start the fresh leg of rally. Now talking about our trading ideas, first it is buy on L&T. After a long time, this stock has given the sign of bottom out process, and now at the words of breakout from its small supply trend line, it has formed a positive price pattern on the daily and the weekly chart, and now started to outperform. And earlier, this stock has not participated in the entire market rally, and I think now if Nifty has to move, then L&T will participate in this rally. So we are recommending to buy with a stop loss of 1475 for the upside target towards 1550. As already discussed, we are positive on the selective banks like SBI, ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, and Yes Bank might be the positive, might get the positive momentum post its cheerful result. If it manages to hold 1250 zone, then we may see the up move towards 1400 to 1420 kind of level. Now talking about other trading ideas, we are positive on the most of the metal counter like Vedanta, Tata Steels. Vedanta has made a pole and flag pattern. Build-ups are intact in the long side in the counter. Recently, it made bottom near to 192, surpassed the hurdle of 200 zone. So this momentum extend to our 213 to 215 kind of level. So suggesting to buy with 205 call. One can put a stop loss near to 2, and this call can move towards 12 rupees. On last trading session, we have seen the strong spurt in the Adani ports. Earlier, the stock was consolidating between 250 to 280 levels, but on last trading session it has surpassed the upper band and given the fresh sign of the breakout after the accumulation of 9 to 10 weeks. So holding about 280 might continue its move towards 300 zone, so one can buy with 290 call and expecting this call to head towards 11 rupees.
Right, so very quickly before we have a pre-open, your picks for today?
Sure. Gen Irrigation looked really good in the charts yesterday, seen a good up move. This can head higher towards levels of 106, so that's a buy with a stop loss at 99.50. Likewise, Adani Ports had a good up move in trade yesterday, and this looks good in the charts, can head higher towards levels of 295. This is a buy with a stop loss at 281. A small cap stock, Kaplan Point, was on circuit yesterday and looked really good, trading at all-time highs. This can head higher towards levels of 360. It's a buy with a stop loss at levels of 347. And lastly, Delta Corp also in trade gave a good up move, and this can head higher towards levels of 188. It's a buy with a stop loss at levels of 178.
All right, so we'll have the pre-open quotes in just a moment. SGX Nifty didn't seem that bullish about the local markets, but that's fine. I mean, I'd say we had very strong momentum yesterday, and Reliance, usually the markets are pretty sanguine, so they don't really seem to move much on Reliance earnings. And HCL Technologies, as I said, is largely irrelevant from an index perspective. So what is relevant? The relevant part is banking stocks, and banking stocks are exceedingly sharp and strong. And so if ICICI Bank continues and maybe we get some uptick from an Axis or a HDFC Bank, then the index has a lot of upside. In any case, we are looking at a market where the overall trend is very strong on the upside. But let's look at Reliance if we can, and also at HCL Technologies. So that's great. I mean, it's got a uptick 1125 is where it breaks out. HCL Tech, I again, in pre-open, I wouldn't give it much weightage only because we need to see what the institutions finally do with it. And as I said, for the last 2 years, the stocks, these stocks have become channel stocks. And channel stocks don't really make much money, and that's the whole issue. But again, we'll wait and see. Do we have HDFC Bank? You can take a look at that. I don't know if would we have Syndicate and Corporation Bank and stuff like that right now? All right, okay. So Axis is looking very weak. Actually, out of all the stocks, I've always found Axis, significantly a weak stock. Anyway, so we'll see when markets open. But just to cover the main movers of the index, Mohit, let's start with Axis Bank if we can. Can we put up a chart of Axis right now? Just a 1-year chart. Doesn't seem to have much. Even ICICI, while it's trying to move out, Mohit, The issue really is that it's still an upward sloping channel. It's not a clear trend like we see in some of, like Kaplan Point and many of the other things you mentioned.
Right, with Axis, we've seen a really sharp downtick from the levels of 625, 630 all the way to 525. Now it's found a good base around 520, 525 zones, and it's trying to, create some kind of momentum here, build some steam here, and hopefully when it breaks up above levels of 550, 552 on the upside, then that would be a good time to get into it. But for now, it's an avoid because it's still range bound and there's no clear direction on Axis Bank. As far as ICICI Bank goes, we've seen a really big up move the last 3 or 4 days. On it, it's moved from levels of 240 to 277. It was in a strong resistance zone of about between 275 and 280 on the upside. And if we do get past 280, then we can even head towards 300. However, looking at the charts, it's run up too much too fast, and it could perhaps, now is not the best entry point. If one is holding, they can continue to hold with a stop loss at 270, but not the best entry point on ICICI Bank right now.
Richard, your picks for today?
Yeah, so probably from the banking sector itself, I think the mid-cap banking stocks were seeing pretty good volumes in last 2 trading sessions. So the momentum could continue on that front in mid-cap bank. So one of the stock is Karur Vysya Bank. The stock was in a consolidation phase since last 2-3 weeks. We have seen formation of a breakout of a consolidation phase yesterday, and even the volumes were much higher compared to its previous few days volumes. We can expect a target of around 500 in Karur Vysya Bank, keeping a stop loss below 477. Second call would be a sell call in Reliance Capital. Well, not very bearish on this stock, but more or less it's formed a range-bound trading sessions, and last 4-5 trading sessions it has been underperforming the broader market. So I think the lower end of the range, which is there around 531 and then 520, could be tested before it resumes its uptrend. So just from a short-term trading perspective, one can look to sell Reliance Capital, keep a stop loss above 561 for target around 520. And my last call is a buy call in Engineers India. Well, no doubt if we observe the weekly or the monthly charts of last 5-6 months, then there is a formation of higher top, higher bottom structure, and even the volumes in this recent up move were quite high. So this indicates that there should be a continuation of this uptrend. We have seen a good consolidation phase in last 3-4 weeks, and the stock now could give a breakout again to continue its prior uptrend. So one can go long in Engineers India, keeping stop loss below 256 and expecting a target around 285.
Right. Let's take a couple of those smaller stocks. You mentioned City Union Bank. Can we just put up a 1-day chart and 1-year chart, and also Federal Bank? We'll also take a look at Dana Bank. Both a 1-day chart and 1-year chart. You can put the chart, Smita. Okay. You have a 1-year chart on these? Okay. So let's take a look at 1-year charts. Yeah. So you can see what a beautiful trend. I mean, this is copybook style, and that's what you need. Let's also bring up Federal Bank. All 1 year, you can give me all the 1-year ones. And we'll also take a look at, I mean, this is the kind of awesome charts you need. What's your thought out here, Mohit? Because some of these stocks, the smaller ones like City Union and Federal, really have clean, even sometimes day trade charts, if I may.
Well, yeah, City Union Bank has got a really good chart, moved up very smartly all the way from levels of 85 levels to 146. It's still in a very strong uptrend, and we can see levels of maybe 155 next on this. This could be bought with a stop loss at levels of 142. As far as Dana Bank goes, this also has seen a good up move in trade yesterday. It's forming a nice base formation around the levels of 36 to between 38, and this can head higher towards levels of 40 to 42 in the coming couple of sessions. This is a buy as well with a stop loss at levels of 38. Lastly, one other bank that's catching my eye is DCB Bank. Even this has got a very strong chart, and this can head higher towards levels of 134 to 135. So it's a buy with a stop loss at levels of 127.
Chandan, we can talk about HCL Tech, and we can talk about some of the other stocks, but the point is, if I have to take a futures position, I need a clear trend. Do you feel comfortable taking a long position on the futures side in ICICI Bank or HCL Technologies? And if you don't, can you give us 2 stocks where you see such clear momentum that the futures position should not lead to a margin call?
Yes, first talking about HCL Tech and ICICI Bank, these stocks are just outperforming the entire sector. First is talking about HCL Tech. The stock has been consolidating in a range, but highs are slightly shifting on the higher side. However, we are seeing some profit booking decline of around 1.5%. But till it holds above 785, the stock has potential to even head towards 850 to 880 kind of zone on the higher side. So On the entire pick, we have bullish view on the HCL Tech for the short term as well as the medium term to positional view. So here I'm comfortable to taking position with stop loss of 785, and this stock can immediately move by 865 and then higher level. Talking about ICICI Bank, the stock has already seen the momentum. So now one can shift in the option, one can trade with 280 call in the expectation of further move towards 285, 288 kind of zone. Talking about the better trading idea, I think the selective metals counter may outperform the broader market. We have positive view and we are comfortable in the Vedanta Limited. The stock has from all price structure, all the positive price structure. Supports are clearly shifting on the higher side. Any decline in the buying opportunity with the stop loss near to 200. Here we are looking for target of 215, 217 kind of zone. And apart from that, I think M&M Finance might be a buy on decline strategy because we have seen breakout in most of the housing finance or the finance companies like LIC, DHFL. M&M Finance has seen the profit booking decline, but now taking multiple support near to 345, 347 zone. So on decline, one can buy with that stop loss, and this stock can see a bounce back move in the line of the catching the momentum with other stocks and can head towards 375 to 380 levels.
And the only reason I emphasize this is that, see, there are two ways you can look at picking stocks. I mean, either you're doing an academic or entertainment activity, which is you're just hearing something that's going nowhere, or you concentrate on, because in this bull market and this massive bull rally, if you're spending time on stuff that's going nowhere, you're going to miss it. It's just going to miss you, and the stocks will rise 3 times, 4 times, and you'll just be sitting there hearing some data which has no meaning. So please don't do that, because this is not some quiet market. This is a massive bull rally. It's not to be missed, and your entire focus should be where the strength is. And the strength right now is in banking stocks. The strength, of course, is in chemical stocks and auto ancillaries. That's where it's not in IT. You know, you're looking on the wrong side of the fence if that's where you're looking. Parag Thakur is with us, Head Institutional Sales at HDFC Securities. Parag, thanks very much for joining us. And just the person I wanted to speak to, institutions, of course, even though we keep thinking that they have to think long term, their entire history depends on the next 3-month top performer, because that's how most people buy mutual funds. In that pressure, actually, sometimes they have to be very good traders, because they need to adjust. Where do you think they are reallocating their money, Parag, at this point?
So basically, I would like to summarize in this way that one is a contra call, value call, which is IT, which definitely some of the investors and institutions are buying, because as it was clear when Infosys actually downgraded its outlook, that time also Infosys stock was not falling much, and it has come back, in fact. So basically, on one hand, and HCL Tech also, they maintained their guidance, and valuation wise, of course, IT looks very, very attractive from longer term perspective. And one is a call where banks, now private sector banks, now going into PSU banks also, because now there are talks of bad bank coming up, where they'll clean up the. Of course, these are just talks. So there's a lot of interest in PSU banks also now. And once your credit cost starts declining, you will see huge rise in profits. So these are two main large cap themes. On one hand, you go, because Indian economy outlook is very good, no doubt. You have got one of the best government, one of the most supportive RBI, decent monsoon, 7th pay commission, GST. So you have to be bullish on India. So that theme you play through banking, cement and auto, and the other theme is IT.
Sure. But Parag, we've also got a very interesting situation where mutual funds are getting thousands of crores of new money. And we are in that phase of what we call forced buying, which means if I want to buy, I can do 2 ways. One, I have to buy from 100,000 order will be executed by buying from 200 smaller investors, and the price just spikes up 20%. Or I have to buy from another institution which doesn't have any need to sell in a hurry. In that scenario, could we see a phase of continuing rise of prices because of the fact that there's so much money which the fund managers mandated to put based on his objective?
Yeah, that is why we are seeing such a euphoric rise in mid caps, right? So for example, in fact, I was very bullish on auto ancillary as a theme, and various stocks, including Sundaram Fasteners, Rane Brakes, Exide, Jamna Auto and all. But now all of those stocks have doubled, tripled. From valuation perspective, I would say that large caps have become more attractive. But the fact of the market remains that, as you rightly said, liquidity just keeps coming.
All right, let's take a few more stocks before the market opens. One was Vardhman Special Steels. Now, I'm not going to get into whether they need coking coal or not because all these dynamics get lost. Those are bear market dynamics. That's when, okay. And let's also look at a stock Manugraph or Gokul Agro, Kaplan Point, if you have that one, because I think in the morning Mohit brought that up. So when you look at 1 year charts also, they're basically trying to break out. So in this chart, it's an accumulation distribution stock. So it can actually correct as quickly, but who knows how sharp the accumulation is. Also CompuAge Info and Navin Fluorine. Just a couple of stocks from the backyard, if I may, that I'd noticed. What?
Well, as far as Vardhman Special Steel goes, that's seen a good up move in trade, and this can continue to head higher towards levels of a 130 next. It's a buy with a stop loss at levels of 117. Kaplan Point we've already covered. Navin Fluorine is looking good in the charts and seen a good up move in trade yesterday after a long sideways movement for over a month and a half. So this can head higher towards levels of 2900 to 2950. It's a buy with a stop loss at levels of 2675. Also, Manugraph on the charts is looking okay, seen a good up move. It might find resistance around the levels of 60, 62, 63, but once we get past those levels of 65, then we can perhaps head higher towards 70 or even 75.
All right, may I have time just for two more stocks to take? One is Gitanjali Gems and one is RV, AARVE Denim, and Quess Corp, QUESS Corp. Not the cleanest of trends, but the trend is starting to emerge. Oh, Gitanjali, of course, this is an accumulation distribution stock, so whenever it starts its move, but it'll correct equally sharply. This one's also not bad. And then if you have this Quess, QUESS, Quess Corp, and do you have is it a recent listing? Okay. So, Ruchit, if you can, your thoughts on Gitanjali, RV Denims, and Quess Corp.
So recently we have seen that Gitanjali has resumed its high top high bottom structure after a long phase of consolidation, and even the volumes are good. So I think this stock could move further higher. But looking at the volatility that comes in the stock, if we look at the past, then I think it's not for those traders who wants to trade with a lower risk. If anyone is want to trade with high risk, then only I think one should get into the stock, keeping a strict stop loss below 60, somewhere below 66 rupees, and on the high side 85 to 86 could be seen again. In the jewelry sector itself, I think comparatively PC Jewelers seems to be quite positive rather than Gitanjali Gems, because we have seen that in PC Jewelers last 7 to 8 months we have seen a good uptrend in the stock, high top high bottom structure, good volumes, and in fact right now also the stock is in a consolidation phase itself. So I think again from this consolidation phase the stock would head further higher from current levels.
I'll just come back to you in a moment. I just wanted to take a look at how the markets are opening, and let's see anything special on the index itself. No, it's quiet, and as far as Reliance is concerned, as I said, largely the markets don't react much on Reliance earnings, and HCL Tech, as I said, is probably irrelevant from a perspective of overall indices. And even this initial quote, I'd really take it with a pinch of salt, because these are institutional stocks. So unless the institutions want to do something, and obviously if you get up in the morning and 30 minutes of the pre-opening you're hearing HCL Tech, HCL Tech, HCL Tech, you think something special is happening. But it's like watching a plane or being a pilot. That's your choice. So now let's not watch the plane, let's become a pilot and go and see what can we do in some of these stocks. So JNK Bank is a very interesting one. It was up yesterday. That one's pretty strong today. Delta Corp is a stock I wanted to discuss, but for some reason skipped my mind. Very strong charts also. Crisil's back up there again. Again, the charts are pretty strong, but the value of the stock is so high. Usually you don't see many institutional, retail investors get in. Repco Home Finance, very strong charts. You can bring Repco also. And also let's look at Karnataka Bank. Yesterday was so strong. I'll go through all the charts in detail for you in just a moment. Kajaria Ceramics, all the ceramic stocks, Muruddeshwar, Kajaria, Nitco, very strong. So the moves are minor, but I'm just pointing out the ones that are still strong. Apollo Tyres, again, even in an overall trend, it's a very strong stock. Wipro is something you'd like to, we'll take a look at Wipro, because certainly it's not broken out. But it's risen about 3%. So maybe Parag, what Parag was bringing up, that you're starting to see some maybe from a value perspective. Wipro's good thing is 73% is owned by the owners compared to Infosys 13%. So it's not a very high float stock, if I may. So the value is usually a little different, but the charts are not clean. Now let's look at some of the mid-cap stocks where we can see what's going on. And the Kaplan Point, that's the one we discussed, that's up around 6-7%. Can we bring it up? Ducon Infra, I don't know what this stock does, but yesterday in a month it was up almost, DUC here, and it was up at least, Smita, we got to bring that one up because that one's going crazy every day. Yesterday it was up 117% in just 1 month. So today if you add it up, and it's on a freeze every day, so basically these are accumulation stocks, who knows. Mahamaya Steel, now I'm just wondering, your raw material price has doubled in a year. Nobody is really ready to pay you anything more for your steel prices. But I mean, Manugraph India, yesterday was also strong, up again today. Sumit Industries, it's a beautiful chart. It's continued that run. In any case, even on a longer term, very nice. KM Sugar, as I've said, KM Sugar is an exception in the sugar business. It's been very, very strong. It just continues the same way as we speak. There's also PPAP Automotive. I've not seen the stocks for a long time. I'll check it out for you. Gokul Agro, we discussed in the morning. The chart was strong. That's up again today. Ashima, that's also got a strong chart. But these are, lower price stocks. So we'll have to really see. In any case, the charts are strong. Sorry. And Vardhman Polytechs is another strong chart that's continued to run. And TCI Finance, similar, but usually volumes are low. Syngene International, we discussed that one's up around also 1 or 2%, but strong charts otherwise. Zuari Agrochemicals and Zuari Global, those ones appreciated almost 30-40% in about 3-4 trading sessions. That's continued also, so you can see the moves. Mohit, anything that I've missed or has come across your radar?
Well, yeah, SRF is looking good in the charts and seen a slight up move in trade today. This can head higher towards levels of 1960 to 1970. It's a buy with a stop loss at levels of 1925. Also, Kaplan Point has continued its up move, and this can continue to head higher in the trade today towards levels of 400 next. This could be bottom as well. Navin Fluorine is holding up in trade all right, and after a good up move in trade yesterday, got a really strong chart. Like I said, this can head higher towards levels of 2850 to 2900. So this could be bought with a stop loss at 2700.
Rujit, anything apart from the stocks that I had mentioned, where we've seen, sorry, what was that? All right, okay, we'll just go to him in a moment. Chandan, anything on the largest stocks that you noticed that I may have missed?
See, I think this financial counter may see outperformance. Bharat Finance is another counter which is now catching our eye. The stock is